Welcome to the Mindfulness of Singing, and I'm Denise, your sassy, spunky scientist.
And I'm Tony, your bubbly, big-hearted flower child.
Our podcast features practical tips and tools for a journey of transformation using the healing power of your voice.
Each podcast, we will delve into the mind, body, and spirit connection by interviewing inspirational guests, sharing personal stories, and discussing the most recent scientific research.
Tune in and join our community of mindful singers. Tony, I'm excited about our guest this morning.
I am too.
So, our guest is Dan Koek. And Dan, he's from Australia, but he lives in London. And he's one of the youngest men to play the title role of Jean Valjean in Les Mis. And he plays that role in where he was before COVID, right? At West End. Now, if you're an American and you don't know when you've never been to London, you don't know what West End is, this will surprise you. But there's another Broadway in the world.
No.
I know Americans think that it's the only thing that matters. But it isn't. West End is what Londoners call West End. We call in our country Broadway. So
Right.
he's the real deal. Beautiful, classically trained tenor voice, beautiful person. He has also during COVID developed a coaching business, and where he helps people do their very best in performing and public speaking and
More like a
and
life
he
coach than just a singing
no
teacher.
it's singing and performance and speaking oriented. It's voice oriented.
Okay.
But he also does these really cool series this really cool series of West End performances. He's been doing that during COVID, where the West End performers get together and they have been performing. Well, actually, I say that I don't know if that's been during COVID. I kind of think it was something that was going on before, but during COVID, I think they found a way to kind of do it virtually or whatever. But and he's been in the recording studio. He is a very busy performer in the West End and highly respected there. He has a Facebook group that anybody can join. And I think it's called Ultimate Performance with Dan Koek. And we'll let him tell you all about it. But I have sent friends and former voice students who are very interested in Broadway style performing over to his Ultimate Performance Facebook page, and they've joined. And he has a live at 5 on Tuesdays, which is noon for us. And he's had other West End performers and directors and producers, and he's had some big people in. He's all about mindset, all about mindset.
I was just going to say,
that's why he's with us.
I tuned in this morning just a little bit to one of his YouTube, one of those, I guess, Live at 5, and the topic was resources to help build a better performance. And it was books to read. And it sounded like a lot of books that you and I have either read something similar to or books that we would enjoy. And at the end, he made a statement that I thought was worth writing down. And it's, if you don't produce, you won't thrive, no matter how skilled or talented you are. We've got to grow. We've got to create. We're creative beings. And I think that's why some people have thrived more than others during a challenging time when the typical way you produce has been taken away. And he sounds like that certainly hasn't slowed him down. And he talked about one of his clients that was frustrated with their progress, and he requires all of his singers to keep a journal. And he said, well, how much did you practice? And when they went back and looked at the journal, they realized that the individual hadn't even spent 5 minutes. So how could they possibly be, frustrated with their lack of growth if they haven't put any time into it? So, I'm looking forward to chatting with someone who sounds like they're very like-minded. And
Yeah, he is his mind. I mean, I love his mindset. He's really positive and all the things, right? And England has had it pretty tough. In some ways worse than us. In they locked down a little earlier than we did. They've locked down again recently. Um
France and
a-
Italy too.
and and they have really had, a pretty hard time. They've had a hard time getting their vaccinations out, and their government has struggled with that. Um, and so it's been, a real roller coaster ride for the performers and singers and uh, music folks, producers, directors, choreographers, dancers, actors. It's been a really pretty rough there for them. So, but I've never seen him. I mean, he's been really up every time I've talked to him and every time we've been together. So,
Did you know him pre-COVID, or did you meet him in
mm-mm,
your,
nope, nope.
you just reached out during this time, saw that he
He,
was up to good things?
well, I'll let him tell the story if he wants to. I mean, but yeah, no, we are like spirited and compadres, and
Mhm.
we hit it.
Simpatico.
We yeah, yeah. And he's one of my gratitude, my COVID gratitude moments.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, he is definitely up there in my things to be grateful for because of COVID. And Dan Cook is one of them. Um,
Nice.
yeah, so I mean, mindset. We talk about that all a lot. We talk about it in a variety of ways, and mindset for me is huge, and it is for you too. And uh I've recently had a little health scare. As you know, you were the only person, you're the inner circle, you were the only person besides my sister and my husband that knew. But anyway, I'm fine. For listeners, I'm fine. I'm gonna live. You're gonna have to put up with me some more. But there were some sleepless nights and thoughts that I might not. And because of that, I think I have a great mindset most of the time. And I think, largely, I think I'm pretty positive, and I try to battle the negativity that's in my genes a little bit, that I have to kind of really beat down every once in a while. And it's usually not negativity about myself, although there can be that, but it's usually about the circumstances, or like something happens and I'm like fatalistic. I get really like, oh well, that's not gonna end well, it's gonna be the worst thing ever. And I have to really kind of rein that in. But I was having a hard time reining that in during this little crisis that I thought I was in, thanks to a
False alarm.
poorly informed medical person. Anyway, and I oh my gosh, thank God for second and third opinions. But anyway, so I really thought, at night when I try to sleep, I'd be like, okay, well, if I die, this is what I'm gonna do. I mean, I was having those kinds of eat nights of not sleeping and whatnot. And I told the story in a Facebook group yesterday, but literally, here's what changed my mindset. It was a bottle of perfume. There's this bottle of perfume that's been in my bathroom that I've been trying to use for like 2 years, and I don't like it. I didn't like it. It was okay. It was not great, but and I don't wear we don't wear a lot of perfume. I don't wear a lot of perfume because singing and
Singers.
singers, and I don't want to set somebody off on some kind of allergic reaction. So it's not something. And if I'm going to teach voice intimately, it's not something I'm going to go, wear in a small room, small studio. But because we've been home, I've worn perfume a little more because I'm like, oh, I think I'll wear some of my perfume. I do love a good French, beautiful perfume. I mean, I don't know who wouldn't, but people who are allergic to it wouldn't. I know I'm definitely fighting my allergies today. This is the time of year that allergies are drive me crazy. But anyway, I'm looking at that perfume and I'm just about to put it on, and I'm like, why am I putting this on? Why am I doing that? I don't even like this perfume. And I have two beautiful bottles of French and Italian perfume that were not cheap, that were gifts to me as well by my husband, like Christmas and birthday kind of presents.
Mm-hmm.
Not the kind that you just go out to the to the Victoria's Secrets or whatever and pick it up off the
Mm-hmm.
shelf. This is primo stuff, but I just kept putting off wearing it because I had this other bottle that I felt like I needed to get through first. I'm like, why am I putting this on my body? Who's going to benefit from me denying myself something beautiful? Who's going to benefit from me wearing that? No one is benefiting from that. And especially not me. And what else am I doing in my life that I am, saying no to myself about because the underlying message is you're not good enough to you're not worthy. You need to not waste things. You're not that special. You're not that, you know. So, how about that $200 dress that I saw that I loved and it looked amazing on me, but I was like, "Oh gosh, no." And you go to the sale rack and instead you spend $39.99 on a dress that you was had been originally $80 or whatever,
Yeah.
and now it's been marked down and you feel like you have this really great buy, or and you go, oh, okay, I'm worthy of a $39.99 dress. But what I really wanted was that $200 dress. Who am I going to leave this money to? My sons will be taken care of. They're going to be taken care of. Why am I not living? I need to live my life. I need to live it in a way that's authentic and meaningful and beautiful for me. And I think women are more susceptible to this than maybe men. I don't know. I'm not a man, but I think so, because we're used to sacrificing for our kids and all the things. And then something worse even hit me. I realized that I'm coming up to my last year in one of my decades of births.
Boy, did you really phrase that one, Denise?
Exactly. And I mean, I don't, I used to really care to tell my age. I used to really care about that. I don't really care anymore because, see this line over here? Of course, this morning I'm really puffy because of allergies, but whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care. I consider these lines Donna's lines, my sister I lost. I consider these lines Kurt's lines, my nephew I lost. I consider this line right here worrying about my son. And I'm grateful for these lines. So this year, this coming up year, on my birthday, is
Mm-hmm.
going to mark an entire 12 months of doing things that I've been putting off. Now, granted, I could start them now, but I think it would be much more poignant. And I could be dead before my next birthday.
No, no, no,
I
no.
mean, I could
Are
get
you
hit
going to
by a
jump out
bus.
of a plane? Are
Well, I
you
was
going?
gonna say no, no, but I have a phobia of heights, so no,
That one's not happening.
no. But what is gonna happen? You and I are going to India.
Oh, cool. I had my visa ready to go. I would have already been there. It was for
I've
this year.
always wanted to go. Oh, you and I are gonna go to Visa. We might let Don come, but you and I are going to Visa, going to India. Um, I'm going to learn to tap dance. Always wanted to tap dance. And, as a child, I was not allowed because dancing was sinful. I'm going to learn to tango. I've always wanted to learn how to tango. I'm going to go to India. I'm going to learn to scuba dive. Always wanted to learn how to scuba dive. What else? What else? What else? What else?
You're certainly
Mm.
going to come see me in Italy, but that's not a huge shocker. So
Oh, well, I mean, that's a given. That's a given. I'm hoping to go to Italy in July, or 1st of August, but see. Um, anyway, so I have this list and it's not called but my bucket list. It's my
Live.
finally live life. I'm gonna start a new career by the time I reach my big new decade. I'm gonna start a brand new career in which I'm in school for now. It's just I think we just I don't know, and maybe Americans do it more than others. I'm not sure because we are pioneers and the American dream and trying to you make all these sacrifices to start a business or to put your kids in college, all those things that we make sacrifices for. And I think we just get used to that mindset. Oh no, I have to make sacrifices. I have to. But what are we making sacrifices for? Do it. Live your best life.
There you go.
Our guest is here.
Yay! I was just thinking.
Yay.
Nice to
Hi.
see you.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I recognize your face because I think I remember watching a recording back of you and two other ladies speaking and workshopping your some mindfulness things.
Cool.
Yeah. So lovely to meet you, Tony.
Nice to meet you. Denise has been raving about you. So.
Oh, all all good, I hope.
Oh yes, she censored it. No, just
Oh, she
kidding.
censored it. Great.
No, it was all good. It was all very good. We were just talking about mindset, which I know that is huge for you. What do you attribute that to?
Um, I think for me, like I went through a bit of a phase where I felt a little bit lost and directionless in terms of not necessarily my career, well, career too, but I think that happens to every performer at some stage throughout their career. But yeah, I came to this just kind of conclusion that things weren't going my way at a particular time and consistently, like I was getting to the finals for great jobs and not getting it and kind of rather than let it consume me and you get emotional and reject the fact that or resent the fact that you're feeling like that, I just kind of started to very bravely move forward with things like that. It's no one tells you when you are an aspiring singer. I mean, I moved to London when I was 22 years old.
Wow.
And did my master's here in dramatic art and musical theatre, and obviously the course I was on was fabulous, and then you kind of in a course with like-minded people, and all of a sudden you graduate and it's like boof, like you don't have this support networks around you anymore. They don't really teach you, actually, funny enough, which I think should maybe find its way into some tertiary education, like how to kind of do it on your own. The business elements of it, because it's called show business for a reason. Yeah, just things like that. I think you're thrown in the deep end. You're a small fish in a big pond when you're at college, and then you come out and it's a big wide world. So I think yeah, I those times where I look back and I remember like getting like to the last two for a job. It was Fiero and Wicked. It was the second year in a row that I was up for it and I didn't get it. And I was just like, I remember calling my mum, because obviously my parents have invested a lot in me, both financially and emotionally, of course, and want to see me succeed. And so, when you call your mum up in tears on the phone going, I'm not doing it anymore. Yeah, but it's always been met with, the utmost support. And then I guess the time, all of those rejections and times, they do make you stronger, because you just think, well, that wasn't my time, or divine timing wasn't so divine at that stage when I thought that was what I wanted. And I'm sure it would have been a great job had it gone that way. But then if you fast forward and all the rejections, obviously, I think were a bit of a catalyst into steering me down the path that I went. And look, I've been very lucky. I've worked, when I graduated college, I got a really good agent here. And I worked kind of predominantly for the first 7-8 years. And by that, I was like back-to-back contracts. I went from the 50th anniversary production of West Side Story, into South Pacific, into production of Chess. All of them up to then were touring as well. So, you know, it's an exhausting schedule. And then obviously when I got back from doing South Pacific at the Sydney Opera House and started doing the audition rather for Les Mis, that was, I think that was like a defining moment, because I was like, everything has really led to this, because there is no, for me, that role in Phantom obviously, but for me, like it's pretty at the highest level of your game when you play a part like that in a show like that. So it's, yeah, it was obviously a dream come true.
Amazing.
Beautiful. How long did you play that? Were you performing that role before COVID hit?
No, so I haven't actually been on stage for quite a while now. Like nearly, I finished in 2016. So I finished Les Mis in 2016. So yeah, a couple of years, 4 or 5 years. But at the same time, because I'm creative, and you know, Denise will know this, because I'm creative and I like to help people and produce and write and all of these things. I think the one thing about being in a show is, and don't get me wrong, I'm where I am today from having played these roles, but the one thing that it kind of stifles a little bit is kind of artistic freedom. By means, when you're doing 8 shows a week of a musical, you don't have time and or energy to create. It's very much all consuming. So when I came out of Les Mis, that was my 7th year in a row of 8 shows a week.
Wow.
Either
Wow.
touring or in the West End. And I just kind of thought, I'm gonna have some time out of this, just for me, just to create. My partner and I, at that point, we also built an events and kind of production company, because I wanted to have an umbrella for, Jamie's a freelance events producer anyway. So I wanted to just start doing some things and hosting little gigs and doing some writing and having the energy to be able to do it, because yeah, this is what
a sacrifice and a commitment to that, to give 8 performances for 7 years in a row. I mean, you ate and slept it. I mean,
yeah, it was pretty intense. I mean, when I was in Les Mis, I only did 7. I say only, the alternate went on for a Monday night, so I did get a full weekend, and that was like a lovely luxury. But it being is that I got to that stage of my career and I got an extra day off, which was just heavenly. But you know, by the time you've like done some washing, done some grocery shopping, and had a bit of a chill out, it's time to go back. And I think for me, and I've spoke to Denise about this as well, like there's a module coming up in my academy about the athletic actor, because I think what we do, well, I don't think I know what we do is nothing short of being people at their peak performance. And so finding ways to be able to consistently deliver that through, obviously, you know, making sure you're hydrated, making sure you're eating the right foods, getting the nourishment you need out of the foods. If you're not doing that, you look to some supplements. Yeah, but in saying that, I was constantly tired. It was just one of those things that it's that energy and that kind of nervous and, you know, not anxiety, but yeah, that nervous energy, it's exhausting, you know, like, and some days I'd go out there and it'd be like, oh, you know, kind of put the autopilot on, which I, you know, I shouldn't really say, but some days it just happens. It's the nature of it. And then there's other days, like when my parents were for the first time in the audience, I, you know, flew my parents over front row of Les Mis to see me, and that night I was particularly bricking it. But I love it. I mean, I think towards the end of Les Mis, Les Mis is just one of those shows that's also relentless. Like, he's on stage all the time, and if he's not on stage, he's changing. And the building is quite old. It's literally just down here. And if I wasn't on stage, I was running up flights of stairs, changing and running down. I was really fit, fitter than I am now, but coronavirus has got in the way. Yeah, but it was just I knew coming out of it that I just needed a break from that schedule, because also from a social aspect as well. Like I never saw my partner. Well, I did, but it was always conflicting times. You're working all the weekends. Like on a Saturday, you've got 2 shows, a matinee and an evening. Yeah, so you really had Sunday, and some Sundays I just didn't want to move. Like I felt a bit, like a bit boring. But I also, that particular role as well, you do have to wrap yourself in cotton wool a little bit. Like I was just like, no, I can't, even, and it's not so much going out for a meal or a drink or whatever, it's not so much that, but if you go out, I was finding, because the cast on a Friday would go out for drinks. Oddly enough, I think it was a stupid day, because you've got 2 the next day to go out for a drink. But it was all very civilized. It was not,
The Friday night is pub night in London.
Friday night is the...
Every night is pub night in London. Who are we
Every night is the pub night.
True. True.
And I distinctly remember the times that I kind of did that. And I was like a team player when it comes to like being in the cast and the company of, I wanted to not be that person playing that role that didn't really, socialize with anyone else, or didn't make an effort to be seen. I'm a team, I consider myself a team player in that aspect. So I do remember the couple of times that I did have a Friday drink, and by that it was like a half a glass of wine or whatever, or a beer. The next day, the show was harder, and it wasn't actually from the booze. It was, well, it probably was a combination of the 2 things. But it's when you go out, I'm sure you know this as well, but when you go out in a pub situation and your voice level is just slightly higher than where it normally is, it's so fatiguing on the voice. I'm just like, why is, I can sing all evening, but like talking just slightly louder than you need to be heard in that kind of situation. And the next day I wake up sounding like Darth Vader.
I'm your father, Luke.
I'm your father.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Sometimes when people come to study with me and they're having like some vocal issues, I give them a questionnaire. And one of the questionnaires is, how often do you spend in a restaurant talking over people? That's one of the questions.
Yeah.
And if they're a waiter or, trying to do their thing until they get the gig or whatever, they always have so many vocal issues because of the demanding ambiance of what they do.
Yeah.
That's the sound and everything. So tell us about West End performers and that series. I find that really great and fascinating. So tell us about that.
West End Sessions, do you mean?
Yes, there we go.
Yeah. West End Sessions. So it was born obviously out of creativity, and I wanted to do something. And I think here in London, I mean, there's your sport for choice in terms of theatre and stuff, but when you come out of shows like that, your platform to be seen professionally performing obviously closes, and unless you're doing a corporate gig or whatever, it's not really invited to the public. So yeah, I wanted it to be like a super, like a kind of 54 Below. Do you know 54 Below in New York? Harvey Weinstein. It's like an underground kind of really chic cabaret bar. I've got an agreement here. It's with the Daisy Green collection, they're called. It's a Australian-inspired chain of or collection, they like to say, of restaurants scattered around London. And the home of West End Sessions is at Scarlet Green, which is literally like 3 streets from my house, which makes it handy. But I wanted to sing, because I wasn't singing as much anymore. And when you don't have an occasion to sing, it's hard to sing. Like, oh, I'm gonna, or even practice. I'm gonna set aside, an hour today to do some practice, and that was just not happening. So I was like, right, I need to sing some more, and over the course of my career, I've met hundreds of wonderfully talented people. So let's create a lovely night. It's very low key. It's super intimate. It's It's voices and piano, and it's just the thing that people say about it is that it's just, you know, it's like the first one started just down here in a place called the Mulray. It was no bigger, excuse me, it was no bigger than my front living room, like 30 people squeezed in there. I've got footage somewhere of the very first one, because it's been going just over 3 years now. And it kind of grew from there. Everyone that was there was just like, I'm standing literally next to, you know, Chris from Miss Saigon or Elphaba from Wicked, or it was just a very organic, lovely vibe to it. And everyone that came, and obviously in the beginning with those kind of numbers, it wasn't hugely financially rewarding for anyone. I mean, least me, because I make sure everyone's paid before me. But I just love doing it. It's a great way. It's really built momentum now. My agent here is proactive in getting like casting people and producers and people with influence and you know, getting me and the people that I invite to West End sessions, getting people under the noses of people that can maybe give you jobs. So that's kind of the premise of it. It's also a nice thing for the clients that I coach. I use it as a platform for them as an occasion to you know, all the things we're working on, as an occasion to present it somewhere. And again, for my clients as well, it's a nice thing to know that, you know, there's some people in the audience that could potentially give you a job. So but it's growing from strength to strength. I had a meeting about it last week. I've finally got the first one back. I've got a date for July 7th. And we're actually expanding and taking over the whole venue, so you'll arrive and dine and stuff, and then you'll be taken downstairs for the show. So yeah, I'm super chuffed that I get to. I think we're going to do 3 this year. They wanted to do a Christmas one as well, but I'm going to be absolutely categorically home in Australia for at least 3 months this year. See my family.
Well, not only that, but you're going during their beginning of warm weather, right?
Yeah, totally. And that's the thing. I've struggled this year here because I'm, as an Australian, I don't do winter like Britain does winter at all. And we normally go away for part of it, or I'm in Australia for at least a month. And it just, when you don't do that, it makes it. Mm-hmm. It was a long. I mean, it was a long year anyway, but it was a long winter here without some sun and some family times.
You can see the joy in your face about getting to do that. And so congratulations both for that and for this beautiful thing that you've created. In fact, I told Denise, I listened to one of your YouTube sessions, coaching, just to get to know you. And I wrote down a quote that you said, if you don't produce, you won't thrive, no matter how skilled or talented you are.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is certainly a testimony to that.
Oh, thank you.
Good thing.
Yeah, we've got to keep creating, and I think for me, as an actor, as a performer, a producer, presenter, all of the things, coach, I've never kind of been one to rest on my laurels in terms of waiting for that phone to ring in terms of the acting world, because that just brings along a whole lot of disappointment and unnecessary anxiety. I kind of have always tried to, not in the initial stages, obviously not, because I was fresh off the boat, but learned and kind of built up a mechanism whereby, you know, you've got to hustle in other areas. Like even when I was in the production of Chess, for example, and in between getting that job, I was working in a call center. Mind numbing, hated it. But they did let you have the internet on to worry on these calls. So I was like scrolling through and trying to find another job. And I speak fluent Dutch. I'm not sure if you knew that, but my weird surname is from the Netherlands. Not that I was brought up bilingual. I learned it when I lived there singing with the Royal Dutch Opera Company for a year. So there was a job that came up that said fluent Dutch, very flexible hours, work from home, blah, blah, blah. So I applied for it. And the long and short of it is I didn't get it initially, but the person that they wanted then wasn't available. So it kind of snowballed and came back to me. So anyway, this job that I've had for the best part of 11 years, I still do, because you just don't know when, you know, it's feast or famine kind of thing. So even during the show, I was doing some hours. So basically it's very boring. It's effectively like, it's not debt collection, but it's like a debt reminder service.
That's funny.
So I
I like
spend like
that. That's awesome.
a couple hours a week. It's another chunk of money that I wouldn't have unless I kept doing it. And I've got so good at it that it doesn't really take me that long. So, and at the minute, while the coaching and the academy and the things that I'm doing this end, they take time and they take money. I mean, you have to pump money into a business to start it off. I mean, I did all of my accounts because at the end of the month, and I think I actually netted about £9 last month. I mean, some came in and a lot went out, obviously, but that's business, and I'm enjoying it, to be honest. And I'm really feel that I'm helping the clients and in kind of a deeper way than just kind of the one. I mean, they get obviously a one-on-one session with me, but I'm trying to educate them with the modules that I'm recording, and then we have a one-on-one, and that's their time to work on music or the technique or discussions from the module if they didn't understand. And I've got mostly singers, but I have a few people that want to be better speakers, and I have an Argentinian lady who is a yoga instructor who wants to just be more present and assertive when she speaks and round off her accent a little bit. And they're all kind of a great bunch of people so far, which is I'm really enjoying it.
The side gig also gives you a chance to keep your Dutch skills up. That's kind of cool too. I mean,
exactly.
you're getting paid to practice your
Yeah.
language that you enjoy, that you learned and enjoy. So
You need a gig like that, Tony, in Italian.
That's why I said that.
Yeah. Well, I can reach out because this is a global company. They need reminding services in all different languages, and they're in the
She's
States.
Fluent in Italian. Tony is fluent in Italian.
Oh wow!
I wouldn't say fluent, but I can get that.
I mean, I would.
You could hustle and chase an invoice if you had to.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, well, so it sounds like you've spent a lot of time in personal growth, which Denise and I both value very much. Is there one book that I know there are a lot of books that speak to a lot of different things, but do you have an ultimate favorite that you think is the greatest for someone who's wanting a performing career?
Oh, that's put me on the spot. There's a couple, actually, if I can have more than one.
Yes.
Well, obviously, I don't know if you can see back there, but Julia Cameron's The Artist's Way. So when people sign to my 12-week academy, they get a little gift from me, which includes that book and a notepad of the Ultimate Performance Academy and a vocal tube and, a little thing to kind of get started. But I've done that off and on for years, and I find it really, writing stuff down, we can get blocked so easily, and not necessarily because I want to even write anything, but it's that's that stream of consciousness that comes out of you, and some mornings the first page is I don't know what to write until something comes out of you that's not that. And so that book for sure. I also like this is not really a book about what is it? I think it's more of a it's by do you know the book called The Alchemist by Paulo?
Yes.
I struggle to say his surname, but to me something in that just resonated about people's journeys in life, and
it's a great book.
Really following their direction and in terms of like not letting anything get in the way of what you really want. I think that's the biggest thing I took from that book. And I had quite a spiritual time reading that book as well, because I was actually because it's set in Spain, in the hottest part of Spain, and he obviously travels across to Tarifa, which is in Africa. And I was in that part of Spain at the time, in this sweltering heat, reading this book, going, oh,
that's cool.
Yeah. And I guess like the other book most recently that I kind of like and try, I think more of us should try to do this, is the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yes.
I just saw that yesterday. I was Saw that again yesterday. Maybe
Well,
that's
see,
it.
and I call it stoicism.
Yeah,
There's a philosophy called stoicism that's basically, I mean, if you're going to really water it down and put it in one, it would be don't give a fuck.
don't give a
Yeah,
fuck. Yeah.
yeah,
So I think
works for
those,
me every time.
yeah, an eclectic mix of books, but yeah, ones that have helped.
So
Nice.
tell us. I'm sorry, Tony. Go ahead if you.
Mm.
Oh, okay. So tell us about the Performance Academy and how somebody would sign up for that, and tell us about your Facebook page and all the things, because I'm sure our listeners are going to be really intrigued about what you do. So
Yeah, so I run a Facebook group called the Ultimate Performance Community. So I'm looking for like-minded people, singers, actors, speakers, and presenters. That's my kind of go-to list. And I have a Facebook group that I go live at 5 in every Tuesday with some like free advice or tips, or I have a guest, and kind of give them, little tidbits of information that kind of maybe spark their intrigue to kind of book a call with me and learn what it looks like to work with me properly within the academy. Um, the academy is 12 weeks, which seems like a lot, and actually it is. It's a lot of work, but I only have to do it once and it'll be built. But it's everything from, I have the syllabus here. It's physicality, working technique, breath work, and improving your bulk score. For example, the first module is just breath, like all about breath. Because I remember when I studied with a marvelous teacher in Amsterdam when I lived there. I think the first 2 or 3 lessons I didn't sing anything. We just breathed. Well, retrained to breathe, and got on a ball, and she was showing me the bridging and all of that. So I just on top of the fact that without breath there is no life, and without breath there is no sound. So it's a super super important thing. Technique, breath work, improving bulk score, acting the parts, repertoire, and nailing spoken word, overcoming anxiety, skyrocketing your confidence. Bearing in mind that a lot of that I find comes from breath work, overcoming those feelings of can be really dealt with breath. Self-tapes, streaming, and being your best digital self. This is one, even though I think obviously the world is coming out of lockdown ever so slowly, but self-tapes will be a thing that's not going away. So like making sure we do it properly, and have you got the right lights, and why are you standing with your back to that window so I can't see you, like making sure that these people have got a space where they can make their digital presence kind of really shine. Biohacking, of course, that's this week's module, I think. No, next week's module. So yeah, in terms of finding a holistic approach to, are these people drinking enough water? Are they getting enough sleep? Is the sleep they're getting restful sleep? Do they wake feeling rested? Are they noticing things that they're eating that, not necessarily they're an intolerance to, but something that, I'm a bit phlegmy after I've eaten that, or I'm a bit dry after I've eaten that, or, things to avoid. I mean, I'm quite lucky. My director in the show said I've got cords of steel. I mean, I can eat chocolate. I can, I'm nothing really phases me, apart from, loud talking, fatigueness. But things, I'm quite lucky in the sense, obviously, a hydration. I mean, I drink 6 of these a day minimum. Hydrate the cells. So that's what you can expect, really. It's a 12-week kind of fully comprehensive course. You sign up. There's a module at the start of the week. You log in and you do the module, and then once you've done the module, you'll get access to my calendar, and then you book a one-on-one with me to discuss, obviously, whatever it is you want, but predominantly a lot of people like to discuss what they've learned in the module when we do some exercises and demonstrate things there. And at the end of the week, there's a masterclass. So like a leading industry professional such as yourself, Denise, or a wonderful acting coach that I studied with back when I was doing my master's, some guests from the West End and Broadway who are still performing and that kind of thing. So it's a real, I think it's it's kind of enlightening for the people doing it, because it's not just, it's obviously watching and absorbing, but also getting to do is, super important.
That's
Lovely.
great.
Sounds like a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think I'll sign up.
Yeah. Well, for sure. I mean, I'm happy to give you access to the actual course as it stands, and follow along and give me your feedback. It'd be great to have you give some feedback, constructive criticism.
Well, I mean, I'd love to see it, but I'm hoping that some of our listeners will. So you're in the middle of it right now. Can somebody jump in at this point, or when will it be offered again when you're done?
No, this is, so the good thing about the way I built it is it's rolling. So you come in whenever you want. The core content is like structured. Like I had someone's, it's because it started on the 19th of March, and I had someone sign up just on Friday, just gone. So
well, that's good. That's good. So they can just pick up right where you are,
yeah,
and
you just pick
whatever
up
they're
and,
behind on, they can watch it.
yeah, exactly. And that,
Oh,
I think
that's
that's the
awesome.
beauty of it. So you just log in and recommence where you get up to, and you just, when you book a call for coaching with me that week, you just tell me what module you're on, so I know what to prepare for them. And yeah, I try to make it kind of, it's small, achievable, bite-sized chunks, and the my mentality on that, and micro habits, and just doing things, because if things are is it your pooch?
Yes.
If things I think in this online world that we're living in, it can become overwhelming. Like when you load something that you've got to watch that's 2 hours, and I think people are just, it's not,
Right.
small incremental daily changes. That's what's going to help you, work through your passaggio, and or belt some high notes, or whatever it is. You need to be doing it every day for 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, rather than I'm going to set aside an hour to do a full hour. It's like, or it can set yourself up for failure if you, and it's also about the way you feel. If you go, I haven't practiced for an hour today, you automatically go, I'm really annoyed with myself. But small achievable chunks of 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, that actually, there's no reason you can't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I think little micro habits are super important, and much more attainable than trying to achieve some great big thing. As you can see, my dog is wanting out of the room, and if I don't let her, she's going to start barking in a moment.
Oh, okay, no worries.
And where's your fur baby?
Oh, you want to see him?
I do. I think our listeners will want to see him. Our viewers. Who doesn't like two Yorkies in one podcast? We both have Yorkies. His is a puppy though. He just got him. Look at him. He's so cute. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry for our listeners that are only on audio. Oh, you're missing.
Oh, he's so cute.
How adorable.
He's a mix. He's a Yorkie.
Yorkie poo.
Poo, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the little longer snout than Lucy has.
His daddy.
That's
his
the
daddy
poodle
was a
part.
Miniature. Oh, darling. He was I'm not sure if he's eaten something. We gave him a lamb bone yesterday, which was like crack. You didn't want to get near him while he had that bone. You couldn't get anywhere near him.
Right.
But I think he might have a little upset tummy today for some reason.
Oh.
But he's all right.
Oh. Well, he's very cute.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for sharing all of your things.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Delightful. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening. We are very grateful that you joined us today.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe, write a review, share it with a friend.